पीछे दो इसको जरा neuron or the basic cell of the brain, which is 50 billion to 80 billion in our brain, neurons. So this is a single neuron. In between is the nucleus, which is the DNA. Is also known as soma. So all these neurotransmitters, they communicate from nerve to nerve to muscle endings, to action things, nerve to heart, nerve to everything through the neurotransmitter. Now, how these neurotransmitters activated? If you look at the science books of 9th class, 10th class, you will know all this about the neurotransmitter. You will know about what is action potential, what is synapse, and how these neurotransmitters are formed. There are two things involved in it. One is the electrical impulse. Whenever a stimulus comes up, maybe chocolate, maybe alcohol, maybe tobacco, nicotine, maybe anything, food, processed food, you see, this is known as axon. Axon's covering on lipid, fat. So fat is very important even for the child, because the child is developing brain. So it is needed. Fat is important for us also, because fat makes these connections. And therefore, we must have heard of omega-3 fat. So these omega-3 fat are very good for this neurotransmitter. Now, what happens? Let's say this is perisynaptic. Yes, presynaptic. Synaptic neuron. Presynaptic neuron. These spaces are known as synapse. Small spaces, everywhere there are synapses. When, because of this stimulus, whether it is alcohol or nicotine or processed food or chocolate or whatever, when we think of it or when we take it, electric current develops at the axon terminal. So axon terminal is a cell like this. Inside of the cell is the soma, is the nucleus. So since we have developed from C, the outside of the cell has predominantly sodium. Inside of the cell has potassium. So this interaction takes place when electrical stimulus. This is known as action potential. So when this connection develops, sodium opens. There are, in this, if it is postsynaptic, there are channels. Neurotransmitters are here in the synapse. Those channels starts opening. Sodium gets into the cell. Potassium from outside gets into the inside of the cell. And then chloride goes into the cell. Chloride, all this causes negative charge in the cell. Finally, calcium goes in. So if it is the neuron here, in this, at this border, there are a number of vesicles. In these vesicles are enclosed the neurotransmitters. When calcium comes, it joins with these vesicles and it then goes inside the postneuron. So this is an electrical current which has started the process, but the fluid, there's a fluid, neurotransmitter is a fluid, dopamine are fluids. The fluid is formed in the synapse. Electrical potential are formed in the neuron. Neurotransmitter like dopamine, serotonin are formed in the synapse. So it's a combination of electrical impulse and chemical transmission that makes us our language of the brain. That part goes on this message communicating from cell to cell, from cell to other things. Now on this part, the two scientists, one British Henry Dell, the other is Otto Lowe, they discovered this chemical messengers, and they have been awarded Nobel Prize for this discovery in 1936. So in a nutshell, not going into many details of it, what happens in addiction is that whenever we take addicting substance or addicting behavior, an electric potential is developed in the nerve cells which makes things to release transmitter which are in the vesicles, and these vesicles finally form that chemical fluid which is known as neurotransmitter. So all that we are doing, I'm talking, my heart is beating, I'm moving my hands and other things, is all because of the neurotransmitters. Now there are a number of neurotransmitters. Now we can go to the other part. Now, if this acetylcholine, if it becomes too much in the synapses, how it becomes too much? As I said, in the synapse, when the neurotransmitters are there, you see some of the neurotransmitter gets diffused by itself. Some of the neurotransmitter, through the enzymes, they go back into the neuron to make fresh neurotransmitter. Now, by any means, if this acetylcholine becomes too much, then we can understand that it will cause muscle spasm, because this neurotransmitter is acting on the nerve of the muscles here. If it becomes too much, then it will cause muscle spasm. If it is too little, acetylcholine is too little, I'm sorry, the Alzheimer's spelling is wrong, it causes Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. Now, all these things, when I draw all these things, hippocampus is, as I said, is responsible for memory. All these memories they collect, hippocampus collects and make a repository of it. So in Parkinson's disease, I don't know, as AMG or as a medical practitioner, you must have seen cases of Parkinsonism. You see tremoring hands in elderly people, spastic limbs, and walking with stooping, steady, rapid gait. All those things happens when there is too little acetylcholine, too little neurotransmitter. Similarly, today we are concerned with dopamine because we are concerned with addiction. Dopamine is an inhibitory now. It is responsible for mood, for emotion, for arousal, for motivation. As we said, in the ventral tegmental area, motivation starts in the ventral tegmental area. When it is motivated, it releases dopamine. It has dopamine neurons. Those neurons gives a connection to nucleus accumbens, to this and to this. So these are all involved in addiction. But if it is in too much, if dopamine is too much, then of course it causes drug addiction. Today's topic, addiction, is caused by too much of dopamine. And also schizophrenia, the psychosis you know of, where you see delusions, hallucinations, very aggressive, this thing. So that's also caused by excessive dopamine. If it is too little, then it causes Parkinson's disease. If you remember, in Parkinson's disease, we give a drug, the galvaoxylase, which converts into dopamine. So because it is less dopamine, we try to give this thing. So Parkinson's disease. Next, Pole. You saw you. Another neurotransmitter is known as serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter which is responsible for mood regulation, sleep, hunger, etc. If it is too much, it will cause hallucination. If it is too little, it will cause depression and mood disorder. So in depression, in allopathic medicine, in depression people, they give selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So that reuptake means that, as I told you, in that synaptic gates, when this new neurotransmitter are they are returned through enzyme, they are again returned to the neuron. So if there is a problem with reuptake, then those medicines are given to treat depression. So too little of serotonin causes this thing. Likewise, there are many young jumping style cell. This is, for example, norepinephrine. Norepinephrine also is a neurotransmitter. It's responsible for the fright and flight response. When you have fear and you're responding through hypothalamus, pituitary gland, cortisol production, and other things. So this is responsible for that. If it is too much, it will cause anxiety. If it is too little, it will cause depression. So these are all the neurotransmitters, which are the language of our brain. GABA aminobutyric acid is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. It calms your brain and reduces stress. On the other hand, glutamate is another. It excites your brain and helps in learning. So these are the different types of neurotransmitter. But for today's topic, we are concerned with dopamine. This is the drawing that I've shown, ventral tegmental nucleus and peripheral cortex. Now, for example, reward and dopamine center, nucleus accumbens. Chocolate gives increased dopamine release of 56%. Sex gives increased dopamine release of 100%. Nicotine 150%. Cocaine 225%. Amphetamine 1000%. So these are the problems in addiction. They release so much of the thing as the other way. This is a diagram of a neuron. So this is axon terminal. This communicates pre-neuron, post-neuron, and goes on, neuron to neuron, neuron to neuron, and goes on communicating. Yeah, so here I have whatever I explained in a small way. This is synapse. Here it is shown very big, but it's very small synapse. Synapse can be between dendroid and dendroid. It can be between neuron and axon. It can be between axon and soma also body. So, as I said, that when the electrical potential comes, these vesicles, they release the neurotransmitter here. In this, they release this neurotransmitter, which is passed through passages into the next, and this thing goes on. Some of the neurotransmitter release are through enzyme. Either they are destroyed or they are reuptake and again made into vesicles, neurons. So, if you understand all these things, then you will know the antipsychotic medicines and all these things, because they act through the neurotransmitters. When there is excess, it will give rise to schizophrenia and other things, but it's in its decrease, it will give rise to depression and other things. So that's the whole thing. So what I wanted to say is that addiction is not a choice. Addiction is nothing to do with meat, nothing to do with other things. It's a pure science. The science has shown that how it acts. Actually, when I was young, 1950s, 1960s, you see, our lifestyle was quite different. We did not have all those pleasure-giving things. We did not even have simple sugar. So, we used to work in group. We used to enjoy working together. There was community development. And after the work, when the fruit is, you see, the result comes out, we will get the real, natural dopamine, which we will enjoy in the olden days, in traditional Ladakh. But things have changed now. Now our society has become society of abundance. You name anything, it's always there with you. Digitally you can ask for anything. Whether it is chocolate, whether it's social media, whether it's gambling, whether it is porn, whether it's shopping, whatever type of pleasure-giving activity is there, so it's there. So it's a society of abundance. Now we'll say that, okay, there's pleasure, it's all right, but this is short-lasting. This is very short-lasting and it gives pain. Now here, this is the balance of pleasure and pain. Pleasure balance is tilted when you are taking all this medicine. Next, Pusal, what you?